From the director of The Mask, Mason.
Oh my God.
Comes the 2002 spin-off.
Wait, and Eraser?
And the movie Eraser.
The long-forgotten Arnold Schwarzenegger film Eraser?
The one where he shoots an alligator and he goes, bang, bang,
Your luggage.
You've been shot.
Oh, what?
Maybe you've seen different versions of that movie.
Yeah.
Arnold peaked at True Lies, I feel.
That movie should have been called Big Guns That See and Shoot Through Walls, is what it should have been called. Because it's about a guy who erases people's identities, but nobody remembers that bit. They remember the bit where he shoots the alligator, and they remember the big rail guns that shoot through walls.
Exactly. Well, it's funny, though, because as Arnold was on the decline and then going into politics, there was a new star on the rise who got his start in movies in a movie that we've talked about called The Mummy is Back.
Oh, yes.
A minor role, and then he turns up as a CGI Scorpion Man at the end. We've talked about it. Oh, this is Caravan of Garbage. Leave a like, because this week, The Rock, of course, is heading back to Egypt in cinemas. But it's not his first trip to Egypt, Mason.
Oh, my God. Did he go on a Kontiki tour?
No, Mason.
Do places other than Australia have Kontiki tours?
I don't know.
Do other countries other than ours have a trail of drunken mayhem throughout foreign nations on a Kontiki tour?
No doubt. So this time around, of course, he's getting his own big spin-off movie. He got a record amount of money for it, which we'll talk about later.
And a record amount of ponytail.
That's true. How do you feel about The Rock?
It never comes out as well. I wanted the entire time I wanted to see him take the ponytail out and just have a big high forehead mane, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, maybe in the sequel or reboot to this, which we will talk about. So actually, this feels right, because after initial edits, this movie was 70 minutes long, and they went, we're going to have to shoot some more movie for this, we think.
Yeah?
A lot of this doesn't feel like a movie. It just feels like some tarps in the desert.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
But for people who don't know, which is everyone except us, but soon everyone, after I finish this sentence, this is the first time we've seen this movie.
Yes.
Because we've seen The Mummy and The Mummy Returns and loved one of them.
Yeah.
But I never saw this when it came out in cinemas. And I'll tell you why, I think. I think it's because the CGI Rock Scorpion King in the previous movie was so atrocious that I'm like, this cannot possibly be good, even though I love The Mummy.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't see it. But I think if I were 15 when this came out and I saw it, or even the age I was when it came out in 2002, 16, I would have loved this, I think.
I don't know,
I thought
man.
it was fun. I kind of thought this was fun. It's Conan the Barbarian light.
Yes, but that's what I don't like about it. And I feel like, you know,
He's got a human friend and a camel friend.
Yeah,
it's pretty fun, isn't it?
I got some camel facts, Mason.
Okay, good.
You know at the start, before he busts in to beat up Sabretooth and his mates, like he's carrying that big rock up.
Yes.
And then he throws the rock and he jumps through
and
the thing.
And he is the rock.
And he's the rock. And then he shoots the arrows and the guys like fly out of the building and whatever.
All right, that did not seem promising initially.
Just all of that, it's like...
I think that's the worst action sequence in the movie, but I think it gets better.
Yeah, but he's Indiana Jones and Rick O'Connell, except he's invincible and immortal and he's the biggest man in the movie.
It's like he ate them both.
It's like he
Kirby'd them both.
It's just boring, though, and I feel like also there's no ambiguity to him. And, you know, if we're talking about the continuity of the Mummy franchise, Mason...
I know, you've built a timeline of something.
I have, which we will get into as well. He eventually turns into like an evil warlord and eats a gooey scorpion.
Oh,
and we know that. And, you know, and then he comes back as an immortal being and et cetera and so forth. But none of this leads into that at all.
But
it's like, oh, is he going to be a good guy? Oh, is he going to shoot the guy who's going to cut the kid's hand off, or a different guy? Who's he going to shoot? Oh, no.
Yeah, but James, obviously his character and also the actor that plays him is going to change over the course of 5 to 8 Scorpion King sequels, which I don't think we're going to get to, right?
No, I don't think so.
There's going to be some circumstances that make him go evil, but I thought of you know what I enjoyed about this is that he is playing a character that he is pretty much abandoned, you know, for probably the last decade, which is a character who is willing to take some hits over the course of the movie. That is
true.
Like, he's not a character who's completely invulnerable and he's just a steamroller.
Yeah.
And he knocks everybody out of the way with absolutely no problems, which apparently people love because they're the movies that do the best box office for him. But I think it's more interesting when he is a guy who will, you know, get knocked off his camel from time to time.
I will say that, yeah, I think the physicality that he brings to this as a guy this size, moving that quick, and obviously he's got a background in wrestling where, you know, so he can do all of that. On top of, he's just very charismatic.
Yes.
So that's what gets this movie through. Because other than that, I don't think there's actually a lot going on here that is very good or interesting.
Okay. Do you like the movie Conan the Barbarian?
Yeah, sure. This isn't that, really, is it? It's like mostly bloodless, and yeah, I know what they're going for here. Like you mentioned, it's it's Conan light. It's basically the same story. But look, I love his big flips and jumps though. He flips onto a table at one point, and that's cool.
Yeah.
He flips onto his feet. Remember that bit where he flips up onto his feet at the end?
I do, and
He did
everybody
that
goes,
for real.
wow, you flipped up on your feet,
That's
for
hard.
real.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do. But I don't know, like other things, it feels very underwhelming. Like, you know when there's the big sandstorm?
Oh, yes.
And we saw a big sandstorm in The Mummy, and it had a big face in it, and there was an aeroplane, and it was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas this, it's just like...
This had a big face in it, The Rock's face.
Yeah, that's true. I also feel like they...
And planes weren't invented yet.
Yes, you're right. But I also...
So that would be a continuity error. If you got what you wanted, which is a big plane coming out of the sand...
You make like a big whirligig
Somebody could have had a
contraption.
They could have got Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, I don't care when this is set. Just bring in Leonardo da Vinci. It's fine.
I'm calling it an auto-gyro, you could say. I'm British.
A weird big hot air flying machine, you know,
Yeah,
that's
hell yeah.
fine. Like they had in The Mummy Returns, I guess. Yeah, but I think what's interesting about this movie compared to how we see him now, it looks like they used to cast bigger around him. He doesn't look that much bigger than everybody else. And some people, it's like, yeah, he's about the same size as Michael Clark Duncan, RIP. Whereas, you know, in the newer movies, he's a foot taller than literally everybody. They're casting small around him. And he's a big guy, obviously.
Or does he demand that everybody else in Hollywood get the boxes removed from under their feet?
Maybe that's it, yeah.
I think a lot of Hollywood stars are, you know, they're standing on those shoe boxes, you know.
Well, I was actually looking up his height, and it's currently registered on...
It's currently
registered at
Do you think he got that leg lengthening surgery?
No, everybody lies. Like Jason Statham is like 5'3". Right. But he's always
wide.
And
He's
wide
5'3" wide.
And The Rock is apparently 6'5", though in this on IMDb he's listed as 6'3". So make of that what you will.
Do you think he's so enmuscled his feet that they've gotten bigger? Like the soles of his feet have gotten thicker?
Yeah, maybe you're right. Tell you what though, there's a sorcerer in this.
Yes.
And if there's one thing that The Rock loves doing in this movie, it's busting into a room where there's a bunch of sexy ladies.
Sure.
And they're like, who's this?
This was a banner year, I think, for Playboy Playmates getting sort of brief roles.
Absolutely.
And brief costumes, I must say.
True, yeah.
I mean, credit to Kelly Hu as the sorcerer, who had to do all the action sequences that The Rock's sidekick had to do, wearing no pants.
It's true,
Must have been awkward. And sandy.
Yeah. And it's also got the same trope that we saw Jane Seymour's character have from...
Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
That James Bond movie she's in. What's the one? Live and Let Die.
Yeah.
Where she's got future seeing powers unless you have sex with her and then they go away, which is a very strange trope. And I guess to this movie's credit, at the end she's just like, nah, I made that up. That wasn't true, actually. Yeah, that's not very cool. She just didn't want to side with the bad guy, whatever his name is. That guy who's like, he can catch an arrow, but sometimes, I tell you what, Mason,
and he can't.
You can't catch
because he's
an arrow.
puffed.
Yeah,
at the end he was puffed.
And he fires a big
He spent years catching those and blocking those arrows and catching those arrows, but then he ended like, you know what, actually I'm puffed. I'm going to let this one go through to the keeper. And by keeper, I mean my heart.
Do you think it's a situation where also, sure, you can catch an arrow in a controlled environment, but when you've got The Rock who will shoot an arrow and a man will fly 400 feet.
That's right.
That's a different situation for catching an arrow.
It's a different kettle of Egyptian fish, as far as I'm concerned. I thought Stephen Brand his name is Memnon the Warlord.
Yep.
I think he was well cast. He's suitably menacing, but not like over the top.
Yep.
I liked our favourite Peter Facinelli as his spoiled rich kid son. You will know him as Carlisle from Twilight.
I also know him as the bully from Can't Hardly Wait.
Of course.
Yeah.
Michael Clark Duncan, you mentioned. Oh, still the great.
Just to die for.
Just to die for, absolutely.
Just a bunch of snakes that are real snakes and then they're CGI snakes. God damn, man. I was like, look at these snakes. Look how they're changing from CGI to real snakes. Mason, but the real star of this, and you mentioned it briefly, all that what we're talking about is fine and etc. and all these wonderful people. But I love the camel situation. I love the play that camels get in this movie. Now, apparently he rode 2 camels.
Okay.
It's the same camel in the movie, right? But one of them was old and wise and awesome and really kind, and the other one was young and awful. So
I see. Right. Just a young buck that wouldn't want to play by the rules, like a young rock.
That's what I'm saying.
Whoa.
So they also mentioned that he likes camels because even though horses are faster, camels are smarter. So I looked into this. It's camel facts time, everybody. That's right.
Yay!
So horses can run at 55 miles per hour or 88 kilometers. Camels can only run at 40 or 65 kilometers per hour. But here's the thing. Camels are faster in the desert because they're built for it. They've got those padded feet for it, Mason.
And they're better at a Rubik's Cube.
That's true. They're also better in extreme...
Because of all those puzzles in, like, pyramids and stuff.
Of course, yeah. They always have to slide a block to get to it, whatever, don't
correct,
they?
Yes.
They're also better in extreme elements, hot or cold.
I see.
A horse will fall apart like a piece of shit, mate. Camels are having a great time. Camels can also carry more than horses and survive longer, as mentioned, without food or water because of their humps. If you've got two humps, if you're a two-hump camel, Mason, say you're a two-hump camel, does that mean you've got twice the capacity to store things?
It's a great question.
Is it like carrying 2 backpacks filled with water and food?
I think safe to say it is, yes.
Great,
and
terrific.
snackies, little snackies.
That's true.
A power bar.
Yes. I rode a camel once. Did you know that?
No.
I don't think I can find the footage, but I did once. They get up backwards. They get up.
Here's an artist rendering.
We paid well for that, didn't we?
I bet.
Yeah. Also, the other thing is, as mentioned, in terms of IQ or EQ, which is what it is for animals apparently, camels have an EQ of 1.3, which signifies above average intelligence, while horses have an EQ of 0.9. So if you're a big horse fan out there, your horse is dumb as shit, mate.
That's right.
A camel could beat your horse at a Rubik's Cube.
That's probably true. That being said, and maybe you have this as part of Green Trivia, camels did not get a shout out in the Jordan Peele movie Nope. The horses did.
That's true. And here's an interesting fact, a last one to end on, ties into what you said. Do camels forgive?
Great question. Do you know the answer
Yes.
to that?
That wasn't like an existential question. I have the answers.
Terrific.
What am I doing, by the way? Why is this happening in the video?
I don't know. It's fun facts about camels.
Okay.
We don't see that many camels around, you know.
It's true. There's a bunch of wild camels.
They're unknowable. You look in their eyes, you're like, what's going on with that guy?
Is that camel gonna bite me? Yeah, maybe.
Whoa.
So if there was one animal that never forgives or forgets, apparently it's the camel. They have good memories and can hold a grudge against people who harm them.
Wow, just like a magpie.
Just like a magpie or a camel that got pecked by a magpie.
Wow.
And there's a joke in this. Do you remember he's got a little sidekick, right?
Sure.
There's a joke in this where we catch the tail end of it and he says, it's not the size of the hump, it's the motion of the camel. And that's obviously a play on like a famous phrase, Mason, for sex. For sex, Mason.
Oh, yes.
So I looked up this joke. I'm like, what is the rest of this joke?
There isn't one.
Well, it's nothing, yeah. I looked far and wide. I looked at jokes.com.
Oh, sure.
I looked at jokes.com.au, the
Wow.
Australian version of the site.
Did you look at rudejokes.com.au?
I didn't know.
That might have been there.
The end battle, though,
Yes.
I'll give it this. The sorceress in this doesn't end up fighting like another woman.
Yes.
Often these movies end where there's a female henchman and she fights the main henchman
It's a real catfight situation.
It's a real catfight situation. It happens in the second Mummy. It probably happens in another one of the Mummy movies. Or
Probably happens in a Scorpion King sequel, yes.
Or prequel. But there is a moment where...
This movie's defying expectations all over the place. I don't know why you like it. You don't like it that much.
It's just not very interesting,
All right,
Mason.
all right.
But she does have like a brief little action sequence, and then she just gets thrown on a table and smashes her head on a rock.
She does.
Which is there. And
I was
that's-
like, ooh, nobody's coming back from that.
This is an era where you can't get an MRI and you'll die now because you've just got a fracture in your skull. Yeah, that's good stuff. But like the whole time watching this, I'm like, what is the timeline of this in relation to the other Scorpion King movies and The Mummy Returns?
Sure.
And it turns out that this is set 10 years before The Rock eats the gooey scorpion in The Mummy Returns.
Okay, sure.
Right? And then we've got...
So that's time for 10 more years of adventures.
Exactly. But if we're talking canonically, the next movie in the series is The Scorpion King 2 Rise of the Warrior from 2008, which is a prequel to this movie.
I see.
So we're 2 prequels deep here, Mason.
I did not know that. That's fascinating.
No, it's not. Now, if you wanted to continue, say, the Scorpion King franchise,
Sure.
you would then watch the Scorpion King, the one we've just watched. Then you watch the Scorpion 3 Battle for Redemption. Then you watch the Scorpion King 4 Quest for Power from 2015. Then you watch the Scorpion King Book of Souls.
Assignment, Miami Beach. I didn't have time to get it in. It's a shame.
I wish I could edit it in, but I can't.
Wait, does this have the same number of sequels as the Police Academy series?
Oh, that's 5.
Okay.
That's from 2018.
Uh-huh.
And then you watch The Mummy Returns, which comes after that.
Okay, so that's 6.
Yeah.
So that's City Under Siege,
I mean,
which means The Mummy 2 is Mission to Moscow, and then we're out of sequels, I'm afraid to say.
I mean, you could count The Mummy 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. But apparently, and I went down Reddit rabbit holes, and I also went to jokes.com.au.
Did you ask scriptwriter David Hayter?
I didn't.
Also the voice of Solid Snake?
What's going on there?
I don't know, but I'm glad he's got 2 careers. That's
Me
fun.
too. Well, he did have the Solid Snake, then they gave it to Kiefer Sutherland for some reason, didn't they?
Oh, well then I'm glad he's got this backup career.
Maybe he should do 24. Just be like, now I'm Jack Bauer.
Yeah.
Keith, you bitch.
Yeah. I'm calling you Keith now.
That's right. His name's Kiefer, isn't it? I meant to say Keith.
Oh, sure.
Keith. But apparently, it doesn't answer, none of these movies answer the question as to why he turned into this warlord that we see in The Mummy Returns.
Yeah, right.
Like in this, at the end, he's like, now I'm the best. And the sorcerer's like, well, nothing happens forever. And he's like, I reckon I'll be the best forever. I'm never going to eat a scorpion and turn into an immortal scorpion warrior.
How about this? Long lost half brother.
Yeah, they could do that. That's actually was a theory that was posited, that this is actually the father or a descendant of the Scorpion King that we see.
Interesting.
But it doesn't line up. I looked into it. It's just nonsense. It's a nonsense theory for idiots.
Great.
Yeah.
That's what I'm aiming for every time.
Do you like nonsense for idiots, though?
Yes, I just said I did.
Good, because it's green trivia time.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, here we go. Now, during the sword fight between Balthazar and Matthias, that's The Rock and Michael Clark Duncan, the sword breaks. The swords break. And Michael Clark Duncan and Dwayne Johnson turn their heads away from the shards. In the special features, Mason,
Just doubling down, all right.
Johnson confessed that the swords actually broke and the very sharp shards could have hurt them. They chose to keep it in, as improvised.
Incredible.
I know.
And then they space jumped and they were in a car wash. We're getting all these cars washed. The mayor's coming to get them.
Improv, Mason. This is great. So this is Bill Hader. Obviously, he's done a lot of things, but more recently, Barry, he's been known for. He's getting a lot of kudos.
How does Bill Hader tie into this?
Well, this was his last film as a production assistant. This was his job for the longest time.
Crazy.
So he freelanced on several films and television projects, and he quit working after 20 hours straight one day on the film's Mystery Mesa set in California. He was like, I hate movies. I will not do this movie stuff anymore. Yeah.
Rodney!
Now, in the DVD commentary, which I definitely listened to,
Go
The
on.
Rock incorrectly calls Branscombe Richmond Branscombe Richards, which is ridiculous because to his friends, Branscombe Richmond is actually named Blue Harvest. That's what they call him.
Nice.
Now, he
Good
was
work.
named after, it's actually a fun little in-joke. I don't know if you know this, but the working title for the original Star Wars, it wasn't Branscombe Richmond's.
Oh.
It was Blue Harvest, and that happens to be how he got that particular name.
I'm fascinated to how you're going to keep this bit going for the rest of our lives.
I'll just get sick of it and stop doing it.
Oh, yeah, that's
But then
probably
everyone
true.
will keep doing it in the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dwayne Johnson. Remember we talked
Rock.
That's right. Remember we
Nice.
talked about salary.
Yeah.
He earned $5.5 million for this, which was a Guinness Book of Records record
For most money given to a Scorpion King guy.
for the highest salary. Well, yes, probably, considering who they cast in the later ones. For the highest salary for a first-time leading man.
Interesting.
Fantastic stuff, Mason. Now, you might be like, well, did this pay off at the box office? Sort of. Moderate hit, Mason, which is why they all went to DVD afterwards. It cost $60 million,
see,
all those
yes,
tarps and such. But it only made 180.6, which is okay.
Yeah. For the time, these days, flop.
Yeah, if you made this and then made that money, you'd have to kill yourself.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Anyway, do you wish there were more Scorpion King movies? Do you wish they were doing a reboot or a requel, if you will?
This feels like a cursed monkey paw situation. But yes, I wish there were more sequels.
Well, in November of 2020, Mason, a reboot for the Scorpion film series was announced to be in development. Jonathan Herman will serve as screenwriter, with the plot taking place in modern day.
What?
They're Tom Cruise, the mummying it, Mason.
They're the end of Dracula Untolding it, James.
They're bringing monsters to the present day, Mason.
Aye, Werewolves of London.
That's right. So they're bringing a contemporary adaptation of the Scorpion King to the world, apparently.
The Scorpion Kings are going to be drinking a pina colada at Trader Vic's. His ponytail was perfect. Little reference to the song Werewolves of London.
I saw a werewolf drinking a pina colada at Trader Vic's. His hair was perfect.
Very good.
My gift to you.
Dwayne Johnson, it doesn't look like we'll star at this point because he's playing another like Egyptian-esque kind of guy at the moment.
Yeah.
But will serve as producer. Wow. Mason, now, do you feel like that I stand alone in saying that it's okay?
I thought it was a bit of fun. I'll never watch it again, but I'm like, this was a bit of fun, light entertainment. What do you think about that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Good-natured, mostly.
Yeah,
You know?
I don't know. It just felt toothless and kind of flat.
I think maybe it's because it was more like it felt like just a fun times past adventure that wasn't all grubby and gross like a Game of Thrones or something like that.
Okay,
It just
sure.
felt like a breath of fresh air. It was like, oh, we're having an adventure in the desert and there's not all the Game of Thrones stuff, you know?
No one's
All that stuff.
No one's getting their eyes slashed out
Yes.
or anything. Okay, fair enough. Great. Anyways, this is Caravan of Garbage. We actually do this too often every week, don't we?
Yes,
on
we
a
do.
Tuesday. Ben and Lawrence do the edit. They do such a wonderful job. And I just want to say, if you want to see these early Mason, you can. If you head over to bigsandwich.co, where early videos go up, we do bonus movie commentaries, there's bonus podcasts, a bunch of exclusive stuff. But if you're like, I don't want to pay for jack shit, and fuck you.
Yeah.
But I still want to hear things. But I still want to hear things that you say. You could actually, we've got a podcast. It's called The Weekly Planet. Comes out every Monday. If you want to know our thoughts on Dwayne Johnson is
Mr. Black Adam.
Is a superhero now. We'll be talking about that one, won't we?
That's right.
And no doubt comparing it to this. Oh, and here's a hint towards next week.
He is both young and old. He can appear as mist, as vapor, as the fog. And he can vanish at will.
Whoa.
All right, thanks everybody.
Grab that gem, you guys. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye. I stand alone.
Oh, that's Godsmack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was never familiar with Godsmack. As you know, I'm more of a stained guy.
Oh, okay.
I'm a stained man, James.
It's been a while since you've mentioned that, mate.
Look at all my stained t-shirts.
You just spilt things on them. They're like pasta and coffee and
Still
things.
counts, man.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Bye-bye.